Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for being here tonight. The show will be starting in a few seconds right after this song. Rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. Your name is never going to be forgotten, my brother. The Godfather. Right after this, every Friday, this is a ritual for us on this show. We listen to this song, and right after this song, we go into our intro and then right into our conversation. So again, thank you guys for being here, and welcome to Black Men Unfiltered Network's Barbershop Talks tonight. Let's get it in. I may be dropping the link a little later on for all the guys to get in here. Let's get in this chat, get in this conversation, share this information so you guys can get it in with us tonight. We're talking about something tonight. We're talking about something tonight that affects Black men heavily. All men, but particularly our brothers who we talk about the most. So thank you guys for being here. After this song, we'll get our intro, and then we'll go right into the show. Ladies and gentlemen, all right, this show is for the women to listen and for the men to speak. So I'll be dropping the link for the men to come up later. And we're going to get it in tonight. I appreciate you guys for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for being here tonight. All right, so a little house rules before we get started. Again, thank you guys always, everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you. I'll get to you guys in just a second. But thank you guys for being here. If you want to donate to the channel, go ahead and you can send a Cash App. The Cash App will be rolling at the bottom of the screen. If you want to send a super chat, you can also do that. I would love for you to join the family if you want to join the network as well. We do a lot of great things over here. All right, now that we got that out the way, I definitely want to get to the people that make this possible. The people in the chat, the people watching from the clouds. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Hit the like button and the subscribe button when you come in if you're already not subscribed to the channel. Let's see who we got in here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Tech Talk in the building tonight. Black Davis in the building tonight, ladies and gentlemen. All right, shout out to him. Marcus is in the building tonight. Jill's Chocolate Boutique is in the building tonight. All right, let's see. We got Jeff Davis. Hopefully, there isn't any women bashing. Oh, Jeff Davis, I'm so glad you're here, man. We'd love to have you on the panel. We'll bash you. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being here. Now, I want to go ahead and bring the guys up tonight as we get started on this serious and most threatening conversation on tonight to men. So first, I want to bring up my two bald head brothers. Oh no, I got three in here tonight. Oh my God, wait a minute. All right, well, first I want to bring up my brother from another mother. Y'all know him for What We Know podcast. Give it up for yours truly, JT. What up, man? Oh, what's going on, my brother? What's going on? All right, man. Listen, all the way out there in Jersey, where it's cold, it's so cold out there. They say if you urinate on the sidewalk, it'll turn to an icicle and kill you. Let's give it up for my boy, Mr. Bennett. It's in the building tonight. Yeah, last but not least, this is the first batch. Last but not least, you guys know this man. He's a celebrity. If you have not, if he has not signed your book, if he has not signed anything for you, what are you waiting for? You know this man, daytime TV, nighttime TV, the real king himself is in the building tonight. Give it up for yours truly. My brother from another mother came from up with the mud with this guy. Let's give it up for Sir Hell Speaks is in the building tonight. What's going on, man? Listen, I feel kind of funny up here with these locks and everybody else and shaved out. Listen. But I want to start with JT first, man. How are you doing? How's the family? How's everybody in your life, my brother?
You know, I always tell you, bro, it's good, man. It's always good. It's Friday, bro. The family is doing great. You already know my baby is in the kitchen in the other room.
Okay.
So she's there.
All right. What's for dinner tonight? I know she in there swinging something up.
We was gonna do chicken, but she's doing the club sandwich now. So.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Bennett, talk to me.
Things are good. Things are good. Countdown to anniversary year 26, March 29th. So starting to feel it a little bit, and it's great. Kids are doing fine, and very blessed right now.
What are you guys going to do for your anniversary this year?
Haven't figured it out yet. I know she was just down in New Orleans last weekend. So we're thinking about maybe doing a quick hit here or there. So it's still up in the air. But these days, anything we do without the kids is a good thing. So we're good.
Absolutely. All right, my brother, Sir Hell Speaks. How's my sister doing? How's my niece and nephews doing over there in King Hell?
First of all, I want to show some respect and honor the platform by giving my brother from another mother a hand clap. What's up, my brother? What's good with you, man?
What up, boy?
Yeah, that's doing good, man. My wife is doing good. She's in there. She's into tufting now. If you guys are not familiar with that tufting, making carpets and all kind of crafts and stuff. I mean, just spending money on yarn, and it's like it's too much. It's too much. Too much is going around in this house. You guys know over the last couple months, I started coaching a young basketball team. So I coach a group. We 4-0. You know what I'm saying? My bad. Let me calm down. So we 4-0. So that's been going good. And then I did a thing. I bought a PS5 and I've been playing God of War. Ain't played a game in years, but I bought a PS5 and I've been on that joint. So it's been really good, man.
God of War is wonderful, ain't it?
Yep.
Yeah. It'll just plug you. All right, man. Well, hey, thank you guys for being here tonight, man. I appreciate you. If you're just coming in, hey, make sure you subscribe to everyone on this channel, on this channel right now. Mr. Bennett, go ahead and shout yours out because I know you have yours as well. Your YouTube channel now.
Well, it's Dungeon Fitness 1969. So on that side, I do training tips, I do product reviews, different fitness equipment. And, so I'm definitely looking to grow that in the new year. And then, of course, I'll still have my IG where I put exercise routines and just different fitness information on my IG page, Paul T. Bennett, and Instagram.
Absolutely. All right, then. And so y'all already know Sir Hell Speaks. Get over there and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. He's doing great work. Y'all know What We Know podcast is in the building tonight. So I'm glad to have you guys here. Trey, DM me, bro. I'll send you the link, my guy. Just DM me real quick. But anyway, so guys, this is a tough conversation. We just left Sir Hell Speaks over there. He played a very, very significant video tonight. Sir Hell, could you enlighten us on what the video was about? And guys, if you have not seen it, when this show is over, please go over and rewatch that, like it, subscribe, and put some comments in there to support that video. But Sir Hell, can you enlighten us on what you talked about on your show tonight?
Yeah, man. So I did a show on. It was about paternity fraud. So this mother has a kid. She issues a paternity. Child support. If the court tells you to come to court, the father doesn't show up. Dad by default He ends up going to jail because he didn't go to court, and then he has to pay child support he didn't pay. So he's in jail for 5 years. And so what happens is they go to paternity court to see if he's really the father. So this has been 5 years in jail. Goes to paternity court, and she forges a DNA test. It's not even his DNA. She works at a certain lab, and she was able to kind of get those documentation and forge it. The court does another DNA test and then does it again to make sure. Come to find out that this man who spent 5 years in jail is not even the father. And the worst part is the mother knew it, and she still talks to the biological father. So we went over that to highlight the pain that paternity fraud causes, and to highlight the fact that this is something that to me is egregious, that affects both the child as well as the father.
Man, so what are you guys' thoughts on that? Mr. Bennett, we'll start with you and then go to JT.
Wow, it's to me, it's compounded by the fact that she used the facilities of her job or her career in order to make this is almost like one of those sort of high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, you were able to use the fact that you work in the lab and have access to the tools to manipulate that makes it even more egregious. This wasn't just some, you would think a person who's not intelligent or just desperate just to have, someone on the roll. This was very strategic, and it just shows the peril that a lot of guys are in, and makes it more. You make more of a case for the fact that paternity should be an automatic or an instant thing at birth, to make sure that these guys are if they are your children, then settle it right then and there. You just put another case in for that. But it's very sad to hear that 5 years of this man's life was taken away. And unfortunately, there's not going to be any restitution. And we've heard cases like this before. We've had, women accused. Remember the football player who was accused of raping a woman, and she had gotten like $5 million, and they found out that she didn't. But, the money's not being returned, and, they're still out there. But, there's no chance of recouping the money that was awarded to her. So, these things happen. And it's just another example of how, men have to protect themselves.
Absolutely, man. JT, what's your thoughts?
Is she's going to suffer any consequences behind this?
No.
Wow, he should be able to. I know that he's still going to have to press some kind of charges or something, man. This is the reason why, it should be mandatory, not only to take a DNA test, but they should get rid of the court's welfare, until they get something that's solid. That alone, and there's more cases where it's worse, but that alone should be able to be to show that they need to do away with, first and foremost, putting anyone in jail for child support, period. I don't think anyone should be going to jail for that. So, yeah, the only thing that you can do, and I've seen a little bit of the show, and what do you say? Like you said, black man, what do you say to a brother that has happened to? He lost 5 years of his life for something that wasn't even his child. And even if it was his child, that man did not deserve to go to prison or jail because of that. It's crazy.
And as we go back around, I'm gonna ask that question. Starting with Mandrell, welcome to the show tonight, my brother. I'll get an echo from somebody. But Mandrell, what are your thoughts on a man that went to jail for 5 years, got a paternity test, and found out the baby wasn't his, and he was in jail for those 5 years for child support? What are your thoughts?
I think that the woman should go to jail for 10 years and pay him every single dime that he paid in child support with interest.
I agree.
Well, for something like this, because she knew, she used the facilities at work to manipulate the DNA test. So this, to me, is a much more serious crime than a woman who's just guessing. She had a bunch of anonymous partners, and she's just guessing who it is and just put it on her. Now, if that's the case, it's just guesswork, and she just put it on somebody, then she should still pay every single dime of the child support back to the guy. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I never understood why you put a dude on child support in jail in the first place. Like, how's he going to pay the child support if you put him in jail?
That
You know what
got
I'm
to
saying?
be in DNA results, and the child is not his.
Bro, let me say this, because I got something I want y'all to see. But I want to ask Mr. Bennett. I want to ask this question, then we'll move on. Mr. Bennett, what do you say your brother or one of your friends you've known for years come to you and say, Brother Bennett, I got some news. And he tells you what we just talked about. I just got out of jail and I was in jail for child support. And I found out this baby was mine. What do I do? What should I do about this, Mr. Bennett? I'm on this baby's birth certificate. What do I do?
Well, again, if he has the means, first of all, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Okay. Again, legal recourse, certainly a civil suit, I think is in order, if not a criminal one, to hold her accountable for these actions is a must. I doubt, like I said, you never get the money back. Like I said, the guy who was went to prison for alleged rape and then was released, again, that $5 million that lady got from the school or wherever she got it from, that money's not coming back. So I think it may be futile to try to do that, but just to put it on the record, and if anything, to get your name removed from the birth certificate. I mean, that's at minimum, that should be the restitution that's done to clear your name, and also to make it public as far as what this woman has done. So I would certainly, if he has the means, or if I can help him to get access to legal counsel that can help him pursue that course of action, that's what I would say to him.
All right, man. I appreciate that. And Sir Hill, you asked me that question. I gave you my answer, but I would love to hear yours. How do you feel? What would you say if I came to you and, Sir Hill, I've been locked up, man. I got paternity test back. All this stuff I've struggled with, child support, debt, going into debt, and his baby's not mine, Sir Hill. What do I do, Sir Hill? What do you say to
it? First of all, I would apologize to you, because that's a pain that not you won't get over that quickly at all. After I do that, I would tell you need to leave that woman. You need to file charges, find some legal recourse. And then I would ask you how do you feel about the child, and what's your intents? Do you plan on sending the kid's life? And based off of that, I would try to support you, because the kid in and of itself, they didn't do any harm, but you have to address that with the mother, not only for her, but for people who see that, to know that is not okay to lie that way, and to cause that kind of, to me, emotional distress on somebody. So that's where I would start.
Oh man. JT, same question to you, man. Then we'll move on. What do you say to a brother that comes to you in confidence and says, "Hey, man, 5 years in jail. What do I do?"
Yeah, we looking at some counsel. That's what we doing. We looking at some counsel. If we got to do a GoFundMe, if we have to, whatever it is we have to do, we like that should have some type of attention to it. You know what I'm saying? We telling that story. We gonna tell that story, and we gonna put that on some type of funding if that man can't afford to pay fully. And it's a lot, man. When you dealing with, you already know, black man, how much it is to deal with in family court.
Exactly.
Even when you talking about family court, but you're still talking about civil court, criminal court, we pressing everything. That's what we gonna be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is a tough conversation, because a lot of us have gone through it. JT, I know you went through it a little bit. I went through it as well. It's not fun, and I know right now, if I had fought for my children and then later on found out these kids were not mine, man, I would have to call everybody. I would have to call Sir Hill. I would have to call JT, Mr. Bennett, Mandrell, because I know if I don't call or reach out to my brothers, I know that there might be a chance I may be behind a glass wall for the rest of my life. And y'all coming to visit me and putting money on my book. Sir Hell Speaks has donated $20 to your books today because it will get real. And a man can sit here now in the chat, or you can sit here in the clouds watching. Most men will say, "Oh man, it ain't even worth it." But as a man, you don't know what you would do in the heat of the moment if you found out that baby girl you rocked to sleep, that little boy you threw the football to and slept on your chest when he was an infant. You find out those babies are not yours, and now they're 14, 15, and you'd invested your love, your time, your connection with these babies, and your money. You don't know what you would do. You don't know what you would do. But again, this is tough. So I had a video I'm going to show you guys, man. That's relating to what Sir Hale was talking about. Here we go.
30% of the males who get DNA tested annually, according to the American Association of Blood Banks, which is the accrediting body for the DNA labs. This is over 44 DNA labs throughout the United States. They are testing close to 500,000 men per year, and over 30% of them have been confirmed that he didn't do it. 0.0% paternity. But sadly, because this primarily affects men and boys, there's been attempts to try to discredit me. The problem is not the men who got tested. The problem is laws that subscribe to the Me Too movement. They say, believe all women. Cornell Smith says, believe all evidence. 30%.
Oh, we'll Sir Hale, I'll start with you, sir. What are your thoughts on that?
One, it makes me, I'm infuriated because we live in this culture where there's this concept, and listen, shout out to all the good mothers, shout out to all the good fathers. Let's set that on the table. But we live in this society where motherhood is just championed. And I think it should be for good mothers. Mother's Day, Christmas, birthday, life, somebody wins an award, somebody wins a championship, hey mama, and daddy's just to the side. And we treat fathers as if they are bad, having to prove themselves, and if mothers are just great. And when you look at stats like this, it's saying that at least 30% out of that sample that's been taken, those fathers who took those tests aren't the father. Somebody been lied to. Yeah. Like, we've been socializing not to talk about that, and it's infuriating because men are suffering with this, and kids will suffer with this. And these are the kind of things that destroy families. And so that's why it's infuriating to hear that statistic, but also eye-opening, which is why I say to every man, whether you're married or single, before you have a kid, get you a DNA test. This is not like it was in the 1950s and 60s. You need to make sure you know so that you don't end up getting duped later in your life.
Exactly. Because that man said 500,000 men were tested. 30% of that did you say 500 million? 500? Yeah, that's what he said, right? 500,000. So we're tested. And 30% of those men were not the father. Mr. Bennett.
150,000 fathers.
150,000 fathers who thought they were fathers, who have gone into debt being a father, who has been put on child support, who sat in the courtroom, who has been in the courtrooms and heard the judge talk down to them. Half of those men probably got felonies because they couldn't afford the child support. And 150,000 of them were not the father. Mr. Bennett, what are your thoughts?
It's, I mean, I think the fact that there isn't more men's advocacy. I think there have been men's advocacy groups in the past. You got various MGTOW organizations and whatnot, but I think they always run into problems because they want to tackle everything. And I've always thought that in cases like this, it's better to let's just address a single issue at a time. But once your language and the anger in your arguments becomes one of that has the tone of being misogynistic, then you're not going to get anywhere with that, because again, for anything to get passed, for laws to change, you're going to need women on your side. And so a lot of times when these arguments are made, it's just with that anger. Whereas let's just go after reality. It's like, do you think, ask anyone who is of sound mind, whether man or woman, if 30% of the tests, and I dropped some links to some of the statements that were made, if you feel free, if you want to share those, is it fair that such a high number, if anything of reaching that percentage was in any other category, or if it was something that affected women to that degree, there would clearly be a national movement and outrage in order to address that issue. But with men, we simply don't advocate for that, for changes in laws. I mean, that should be enough. That's more than 1 in 4. That should be enough to then mandate, at least on the state level, that there should be mandatory paternity testing before any name goes on a birth certificate. That should be just like when I don't know what it is now. When I got married, my wife and I had to get blood tests done before we got married. Before we get our marriage license, we had to get blood tests. Well,
when you get married, Mr. Bennett?
New Jersey.
No, when?
1997. So again, this was a while ago.
Oh yeah,
so
it was the same because I got married in '94.
Okay. So did you have to get a blood test?
Yes.
Yeah. So
and counseling.
Yeah, my counseling was 15 minutes, but in my pastor's office, that's about
Mine was probably about 10 seconds.
Yeah, but I mean, just as you needed that in order to get a marriage certificate clearly on a birth certificate, to have similar DNA tests done, I think that alone should be enough to justify having some reforms that would take that on. And if men could simply just focus on this, you would do a lot to change the dynamic between men and women in this country. But we can't get on the same page because there's so many things that we want to to fight on. But but this would be certainly a case that you would think would be pretty easy to get certainly men to not only get together on, but again get women as well to get a consensus on. But we're not there. But yeah, that's enough to your message, black man. You keep it zipped up. De-discipline. That's just another example why you need that too. But unfortunately, you might not have even had any intercourse with a woman, and you could still be in that situation. So that's another thing also. That so you're not even guaranteed there that you may not wind up in this situation. So it's it's unfortunate.
I would like to welcome Diedrich Brockinson Senior to the show tonight. He's actually writing a book about these things. Reached out to me and asked could he be a part of it. And absolutely, I'm glad you're here, man. Thank you for being here tonight. I know you've been probably listening in the back or listening on your way in. But what are your thoughts on the conversation that we're having tonight?
I have a lot of thoughts on that, actually. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, being that I have experienced this firsthand twice, I really think that there should be reform. I think there should be a bigger emphasis on DNA testing prior to child support, at childbirth. That should be mandatory, period. No exceptions. That should be mandatory, because there are a lot of families that are not really biological families that men have been taken care of. And I don't think that's fair to men. Sure, we can always go to, yeah, men should zip it up, wrap it up, whatever. That's cool. But the onus is on women to do the right thing, and they're not, and a lot of them have not been. And a lot of the times you have children who don't even know who their biological people are. And that's detrimental to children and generations of children who don't even know who their blood relatives are, and I think that's something that should be taken extremely serious, because it's not something to play with. I've seen on other shows or podcasts where women, they literally giggle when men are talking about the fact that they've had to go through these things and they've been duped, or they're being drugged through the judicial or the court systems, because the courts really don't care when it comes to men. It's always leaning towards the woman. And when you're talking about children, when you're talking about families, you're talking about men being there, a lot of the times men don't have that kind of trust in the court system, and they don't have that kind of trust in women. It starts to be because they don't know. You know what I'm saying? Women always know who their children are, but but men, not so much, because if a woman sleeps with a Brady Bunch screen full of men, you know, she can point out when this guy over here, because he's a stand-up guy, she can point that out. And then now the onus is on him through the court system, per the court system, for him to pay for a child that's not even his because of her deceit. That's called theft by deception, you know? So yeah, I have a lot to say about that. And there should be some extreme change when it comes to that.
All right. Now, let me tug your jacket a little bit here. When you say extreme change, what would you prefer happen to women who lie, and for the women who have done this to men? What should be their punishment in your mind?
Their penalty should be just as harsh as the penalty upon men. Because you got men who they'll go to prison because they can't pay child support because this woman is dragging him or whatever. He get a promotion, she's back in court to get a raise on the child support she shouldn't even be getting to begin with. She should be paid. She should be made to pay that back. There should be oversight on what she does, you know, how she gets that back to him. And a lot of men might not want that, but at the same time, her feet should be held to the fire as well. You have women who accuse men of rape. They should get the same penalty that man has gotten. They should be thrown in there too. My whole point is that, and people say, well, what about the children? Well, shouldn't she have thought about that? There's a lot of women should be made to be accountable. A lot of the times, a lot of women are have not been made to be accountable for the things that they've done towards men. It's always put on men. Well, men do this, men do that. Nobody, well, I can't say nobody, but hardly anybody ever blinks an eye or anything when women, you know, are supposed to be held to the fire. There should be some oversight on that.
All right, thank you for that, man. I appreciate it. Anybody else want to have anything to say about what he just said? Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, man, listen, we have to be a lot more focal, and it's happening. It's starting to happen now, but a lot of this comes because you have men that actually protect these women. Mm-hmm. You have these male judges. You have these male attorneys. You know, you have women, again, when they're in the system. I'm not going to go too deep into mine, but I'm going to tell you, my ex-wife was pretty much close to the system. So she knew people. You know what I'm saying? I probably couldn't, I can't prove it for a fact, but I can tell you right now, I know that she knew the judges. She was a social worker, and she dealt in that county, and then there was other counties that she dealt in too.
Ooh, that's bad.
And it took me a minute, you know what I'm saying? It took me a minute to figure it out. I said, wait a minute, how in the hell I get in front of this same judge? And it was 5-10 years apart. You know, I went for a modification. The majesty lowered the modification. It goes to the judge. The judge ended up not only putting it back to where it was, but added, you know, $30, $40 on top of what they already had on there. The judge was doing that and said the exact same thing to me that she said to me 6 years prior. It took me a minute to figure it out. I said, oh my God, I just got duped. So what happened to that man is nothing, because I was married. And those children were mine. There's nothing that compares to what that man went to that was on Sir Hill's that you guys talked about on his show. However, it's bad, man. It's really bad right now, and it's uneven. I think it was overcorrected. You dig what I'm saying? And that's what I think we are in. We have to correct it again, but I don't want it to be overcorrected again. It's just going to go too far to the left, too far to the right. We're going to have to get it even. But in order for that to happen, we're going to have men and women both actually petitioning these courts, petitioning these folks that's in politics. We literally have to be more proactive in this, and that's what's going to change a lot of this stuff that's going on.
All right, now, E-Man, thank you for being here tonight. Now, I do have another video I'm going to play that's also just a sight to see. I'm gonna go ahead and play that, and then when we come back in, we'll get E-Man's thoughts, and then we'll go back around the panel. Here we go.
I had to get a DNA test on Mika. Okay. And the DNA test came back, and I just found out I'm not Mika dad.
Come on, I know you lying.
I'm so serious. The papers is right in front of me.
Well, there can't be no right papers.
How could you do something like this to me?
Do what?
You know what? I've been in this baby life since she was born. I signed her birth certificate. How could you do this to me?
E-Man, what are your thoughts?
So let me first address the title. So I'm on record saying that I believe that DNA testing should be mandatory. I don't think it should be for past. I think it should be present. I don't think we can go back and fix what was wrong. I think we can say, hey, as of 2023, every baby that comes in this earth should be DNA test. I believe in that, hands down. Second, I think when it says is child support unconstitutional, I disagree. I think it's a need for child support. I think it's some people who's just not going to do the right thing, and if the government don't hold their feet to the fire, their feet won't be held to the fire. You know. But the one thing I will say, because I want to say this right here, is I still think that men have 100% control whether they reproduce or not. And so I still put it on our feet. The one thing that I was a big principle of, I didn't have kids out of wedlock because I did not want to go through the child support system. I'm not saying that everybody can do what I'm doing. And I understand that people did it right. They got married and they still ended up on the system. I understand that too. But I think that if that's your child and you should pay child support if you're not supporting that child, hands down.
All right. And so anybody else want to address what E-Man said and or the video as well? Sir Hale, we'll go ahead and get you in here.
Ma'am, I didn't like the idea that he calls and he's saying, hey, look, how could you do this to me? And she just blowing it off like he's saying something wrong. Like, I hate the dismissiveness when you know you're wrong and you're trying to turn it around.
Absolutely.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Because you know what? We know what men are going to do. Most men who don't know that tactic, going to go start trying to correct themselves, trying to make sense, and going to slip right into the emotions.
Yep.
And then she's not going to be held accountable. So it's cruel, man. It's cruelty and pretty faces. And I think something that the lead attorney says that I really agree with.
Can you
we got to treat people like people. Men are people, women are people, and we can't assume that she wouldn't do this, right? And women also have to kind of take that same approach, that if you do something wrong, look, as crazy as this sounds, now I wouldn't take a woman back who did this to me.
Ooh.
But sometimes if you honestly say, hey, look, this is what I did, you give that man an option. There's some crazy men who do something stupid and stick with you, but it's cruel not to give that man that option, because eventually it's going to come out and you get to determine what kind of damage. Do you want it to be damage up front, or you want to blow everything up later? So that's what I think when I heard that. This man is, something hit you, it knocked the wind out of you. You got to sit down and talk low, not because the wind is knocked out of you. That's what I heard from that man. And what I heard from the woman is dismissiveness when that man's world just got turned upside down.
Man. So, can I ask a question? Because I might don't got a good understanding. So when we say that women should go to jail, what do we feel that they should go to jail for?
Lying.
So do you believe that everybody?
Perjury.
Hello. So hold on. I want to make sure I understand this, because how the law works, we're saying if a person is proven that they lie, we're supposed to send them to jail.
No, not just that. That's not just that cut and dry. No, because when you're talking about theft by deception, you're literally stealing someone's life from them. You're literally stealing someone's choice from them. You're not giving that man a choice. So if that man is getting thrown in jail, his whole reputation is in the slammer. Like everything is going downhill for a man when he's deemed a deadbeat father, or he's deemed, oh, well, he doesn't want to pay child support. That man's whole life is in a spiral now. So when it's discovered that that child isn't even his, or those children isn't even his, so what is she supposed to do? Just get a slap on the wrist and just say, go on ahead? I mean, how are we supposed to handle that? Like,
well, she also committed perjury.
Correct.
She also was held in contempt of court, and she also deliberately, egregiously lied to cause someone harm. That's all. That's jail. You going to jail and you being sued.
And email. Hold on, before you go, email, I want to add some more context to it. Sir Hale had a show earlier, and there was a guy that went to jail for 5 years for child support. Got out of jail, did a paternity test, and found out that that baby was not his, and his name is on the birth certificate.
Not only this, but the mother knew it wasn't him.
Right.
She still talks to the biological father. So Eman, to answer your question, they should go to jail for fraud. And here's why.
Yes.
Unless you make this serious, it won't be taken that way. You understand what I'm saying? If a man doesn't pay child support money, now we say it's about supporting the kid. If he doesn't pay money, forget his presence, forget what he can teach the kid, forget his ability to protect, forget other ways he can provide. If he can't pay money, he's going to jail. He's going to jail over money. And how much more severe should the punishment be if it's a lie? Now, here's where the argument can be made. Well, maybe she didn't lie. Maybe it's negligence. Well, when you sign legal documents, there's like this little checkbox to say, do you certify that you're testifying to the best of your knowledge? So you can't act like you're negligent on that one, right? So it's incumbent on the mother, even if she's not lying and she considers that it might be somebody else, she must disclose that and then give that man the opportunity as to how he's going to proceed to deal with her.
All right, so I'm trying to figure out how we're going to measure, because it's easy in theory, but we have to be able to measure this in court. So we can say that she's committed perjury if she went to court, she was in, and they was fighting for custody, or they was fighting for putting him on child support. I can see that, but how can we prove this lie in a hospital? Because this is what's happening at. It's at the hospital between the two nurses. Hey, who's the daddy? This the daddy. There's no legal part of it, and we can't start locking people up for lying, because if we start locking people up for lying, it's a lot of people need to be in jail.
Paternity fraud. It ain't just lying. It's paternity fraud. If you just say lie, you take away the sting of the issue. It's paternity fraud. And again, this is where the negligence comes in at. If you believe it could be somebody else, you have to disclose that. And if you don't do that, then that's what makes you have to suffer that penalty. That's just my perspective.
So from a lawyer's point of view, what if she was naive to think that you were the dad? She thought that guy wasn't the dad.
Negligence.
That's why we said at the beginning that it should be mandatory to have a blood test. You don't get somebody to come in and do a blood test, you don't get no child support, you don't get no aid from the state, you don't get none of that. You don't get none of it.
I agree with that. Remember,
it should be comparable to a dishonorable discharge in the military.
Yes.
So now listen, I agree.
Have receipts.
I agree. Going in forward, every child that come out a woman should have the DNA test, or the name should be blank on the birth certificate. I agree with that. But if we say that we want to be able to put them in jail, my question is, how do you measure it? Because in court, it's about how can we make without a reasonable doubt that she did this.
Well, in regards to the case that Sir Hill presented today, I was saying that she should go to jail. He went to jail for 5 years. She should go to jail for 10. because he went to jail for 5 years and was unable to pay child support. Now, while he was in jail, that child support had been compounded.
How do they measure now?
So he had to pay all that child support regardless, right? For the 5 years he wasn't working because he was in jail.
Mhm.
So in cases like that, E-Man, that's how we measure it. But I agree with what you're saying, top to bottom. Like, I mean, in cases that are not like that, hold on, JT. Cases that are not like that, if the woman can just say, I didn't know, I thought he was a dad, she could easily just say that and be off the hook.
Hey,
I didn't know. I thought he was just, you know what I'm saying? Right. But here's the thing. Yeah, but his thing, state ain't gonna see it that way. And right now, as we stand right now, there's no laws against the woman lying about the guy. She could go to court today and admit that she lied. She could say, I knew he wasn't the dad. I knew it, and I did it anyway. And nothing happens to her. So even though she committed perjury, but nothing's gonna happen to her.
So yeah, I agree. If a woman go to court, let me concede to y'all point. If a woman go to court and she says, I lied, I set him up, I said he was the father and he's not the father, let's send her to jail. But what about the woman that says, I truly believe Day was the daddy? Like, it was nothing in me. Yes, I had sex. Because when they asked the question at the hospital, they said, who do you believe or who do you think the biological parent is? They don't say.
But E-Man, that's what a problem is. That's what you just said. Who do you think? Nope, we're not taking your word either, lady. We need a blood test. We need DNA. We're not listening to you, and we're not listening to him. We're listening to what the DNA is saying. So that's where the problem is right there. That's how you can measure it.
And I agree with the notion that like you said, treating it like a dishonorable discharge. You got a dishonorable discharge, you get nothing as far as benefits from the military. Any branch, dishonorable discharge. I don't care if you had a stellar career, but you made one mistake or pissed off the wrong officer, and he just gives you a dishonorable discharge. You get absolutely nothing.
Mandrell.
Okay, you're not E-Man. You're not E-Man. Don't call me Mandel.
My bad, bro. I was gonna call you your government.
I'm agreeing with E-Man tonight.
No, me. Listen.
Is that what it is, JT?
That's probably what it is. Okay. Hey, no, but listen. Even in a general discharge, up under conditions, there's no receipt, so you still don't get anything. You just don't get, the whole thing with not being able, because having a dishonorable discharge, it's like, where were you at?
Right. Like the dishonorable discharge, man. Like you can't even go to the VA. You got a dishonorable discharge. You can't even get VA. You can't get medical treatment from the VA. You can't get compensation. It's like you did nothing for however long you was in the military with a dishonorable.
So if she has no receipts, she gets a dishonorable discharge.
Right. And I agree with that. I agree with that. If there's no paternity test at birth, then the woman gets no benefits at all. I think because we're at that point with it now where you got guys who are paying child support for children and then they've even had sex with the woman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have a lot, and the thing is, you have a lot of cases like that. It's case after case, and the women are admitting to it. Well, yeah, we didn't. I just felt like the kid needed a father. I thought he'd make the better choice of being the father. Yeah, like that's their reason for doing this. Like, so we are at the point where measures that are much more strict need to be enforced and put in place, in my opinion.
Well, I
had a question for
because, like I say, E-Man, if it's because it really is at that point. These dudes ain't even having sex with these women. These women putting them on child support. I'm like, what is that? So
how you do that?
Hold that.
How you do that?
So hold that thought, guys. We got some super chats in the building. We got Mr. Kevin C. In the building, man. I want to thank you for your $3.04 super chat. He said everyone else gets prison for all other types of fraud. Simply add paternity fraud to the list. How is it you don't know who fathered your child? Thank you so much, Kevin, for that. And then we have another one up here. We got KP from KC5. She's a strong, independent woman. She can handle it. He's referring to her being in jail. she can handle it. So I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna play you guys something real quick, and then after this, I'll play another video and we'll discuss that video as well. Let me see what I'm gonna give y'all tonight. Here we go. All right, man. Appreciate you for that super chats, those super chats, guys, and thank you for supporting the channel. All right, so I think Mr. Bennett had a question for E-Man, and then after that, we'll play the video. Go ahead, Mr. Bennett.
Well, it's for Brother E-Man and certainly for anybody else who wants to chime in. Would your stance change a bit if the people are married versus, because I can understand, I think an example you said earlier, if you are just having a child out of wedlock, but she may have been with a guy prior to you hooking up, and then, you know, she might have just assumed, well, you were the father. That could be something you might be able to look at as maybe something that would be more an innocent mistake, more so than trying to just set someone up. But if you're in a covenant of marriage, and if that issue comes up where the child is not yours, does that change the dynamic? And again, anyone can chime in on that. Does that change the dynamic for you in terms of what the penalty should be? Should she be found to say that, you know, if it turns out that the baby isn't yours?
All right. So first of all, I believe even in marriage, every baby that comes into this earth should be DNA tested if you put the period. I want to stand on that. But on the flip side of that, I don't believe that she should be punished because first of all, if we start DNAing everybody, a woman can't lie, right? We take the option of lying away, right? But I don't think that she should be punished, but I think that she should have financial consequences. Say, for example, if a woman cheated and she had a baby outside, I feel like she couldn't take half. She couldn't take a lot of different things. She would have to leave with that baby with what she came from. So I do believe from a money point of view, I just don't think the idea of locking them up is 100%. I can't support that from where I'm coming from.
Well, like I said, in the case where the one that Sir Hill presented, that one case and instances like that, in my opinion, yeah, she should go to jail. Like the DNA test that she did before, she works at a lab, and she manipulated the DNA, the samples, to make the DNA test come and match his.
Oh yeah.
So that when you're doing stuff like that, my thing is, other than cases like that, E-Man, tonight I'm with you 1,000%.
No, so let me tell you, I haven't seen Sir Hill's show yet, so I didn't know that she was.
Yeah, she manipulated it.
Yeah. Like if you in a lab,
Can't believe you, man.
Hey, if you at a lab and you changing sperm samples out, like you go to jail because not just from the child point of view, you go to jail from your job. You know that's actually like so she should go to jail. But I mean, just because we said a woman say, "Hey, I think you the father," I don't think that's enough to prosecute somebody in court. That's the point that I was making.
Yeah, and the thing is, JT was right though. If she says that, okay, I think he's the father, but then it turns out he's not, there's no way to prove that she committed perjury unless she comes out and admits it. But the issue I have is that you have a lot of women who do actually say and come out and admit this stuff, and nothing happens. Like, so they'll admit it, and so now there's your proof of perjury right there.
Going to jail.
But there's still nothing. But the thing, they don't go to jail. Nothing happens in those cases. Think about this.
The burden of proof. If somebody says to me right now, Sir Hill's the father of my kid, that claim doesn't have to be validated. I, though, have to prove that I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. The person making the claim doesn't have to validate that claim is true. They're going to come after me.
And what happened to innocent until proven guilty? What happened to innocent until proven guilty?
But
no, I have to. If I can say something.
I'm saying say that for the man who's paying child support.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying. If someone's claiming that you are the father, if someone makes a claim again, if I say, Sir Hill, you stole my $10, you're innocent until I have to prove that you stole it. So, I know, but so the thing is, it should work. The way it should work is that if a woman claiming that you're the father, she has to prove that you are the father. The best way to do that, that's irrefutable, is a DNA test.
No, so we agree on that. Like,
yeah.
like
so
that,
I mean,
like
the thing
that's
is,
the whole, that's
yeah,
that's
and
what
that's
we're
just.
saying.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Point, it's not that. And
right.
that's a
Honestly,
problem.
and that's a problem where the justice system is not working the way it's supposed to. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And in these cases of paternity, they are not.
No, but because we do go to jail, men do go to jail because of this. This is the reason why I say no. She go to jail too. When she do something on the opposite, because there's a whole bunch of they admit this on national TV. I don't want him to be the father. That's why I said that he was the father. They are admitting, and the only reason why they're doing this is because there's zero consequences. There's zero consequences when it comes down to it.
So if I can just chime in a bit, the reason why she needs to go to jail is because, number one, if she's been with 2 or more people within a proximity of time, you cannot say with a surety and certainty that this person is the father, but you put it on the birth certificate anyway, right? That is paternity fraud. She absolutely. So say again.
They're not saying I'm 100% sure that Day-Day's the father. They
no,
say
no. When you put
no,
something,
they are saying that though.
No. Time out.
Bro.
Time out. When you put something on a legal document, you're saying that you're 100% sure. Secondly, the biggest thing that we're not talking about is men and women need the same reproductive rights. Like she can drop it off at a fire station. I should be able to sign something and drop it off too. When she wants to give it up for adoption, I should have the right to give it up for adoption too. Why should I have to pay?
You can sign away your rights.
Say again? No,
you
but
you
can't sign away. But you can't sign away your responsibility. That's the problem.
Oh no, you can't. Sign away your rights. You sign away everything.
Out of Michigan.
You can sign away everything.
Nope, not in Michigan.
You sign away your rights. You're signing away everything.
No, bro, listen to me. I've experienced this. I've dated somebody that her son's father signed away his rights. Guess what didn't happen? He did not. He still was responsible financially in Michigan.
Right. Well,
real quick, guys. Now I will add to what JT said. I did see a case. Remember the guy that got put on the birth certificate? The girl said, "I couldn't get food stamps if I didn't put him on child support." He ain't the daddy, right? And that judge, he sat in front of that judge. It's a video of this, guys. He sat in front of the judge, and the judge told him, "Okay, we just found out you're not the father. However, we're going to still need you to pay that child support until we find financial support for this child."
Right.
I get that, but hold on. I want to go back to what JT said.
Look at Syria. I mean, it's.
I get that, but no, legally in the United States, I can give away all rights and financial rights. Now, I don't know what's going on in Michigan, but I know people who have completely signed over all rights and they have no connections to that child.
No,
whatsoever.
the only reason why they don't is because she agreed to it. In Michigan, if you sign away your rights, you do not sign away the financial responsibility. They also had a case where there was a gay couple. They had a donor. They broke up, and one of the one that had the child put the donor on child support. They're going through court right now. Just because you give up your rights don't mean that you give up your responsibility. They will not take that away. You still have financial responsibility.
With a donor, they already signed waivers said they have no rights.
No, they didn't. That's if they went through the sperm bank.
Oh, see, I thought he did it right. He got the.
You got all the details. You can't be saying it like they went to the sperm bank.
Hold on. Let me scratch that.
Don't lay my ass up in it.
Hold on. Let me scratch that one. Let me just keep where I was at in Michigan. You can sign away your rights.
You scratch that. My point is this. My point is this.
One mic, guys.
I just want to say this real quick. She can drop it off at the fire station without your consent. No repercussions, no harm, no foul. You cannot sign away your rights without her agreement to it. You do not have the same legal privileges when it comes to reproductive rights as her. Point blank, period.
So we ain't signing. She can't just drop it off at the fire station. You're gonna have custody of that child. If she do not want that child, listen. If men have rights too. I know we might.
You can't fight. You can't fight for them.
Yeah, you can fight for them. They're not gonna just give it to you. They're not gonna just give
you
you
can
the
go on the ID channel right now. You can go on the ID channel right now. There's a woman that killed both of her kids, put them both in a freezer, had them in the freezer for about a year. She sat back and tried to blame the fathers for not being in a life. These fathers were looking for these children for a whole year. They said it in court. Guess what happened? You know the story I'm talking about?
No, but JT, we talking about if she dropped the kid off at the fire department. That
I
father.
get that. No,
what you're saying is something totally different.
No, what I'm saying is the responsibility. One of the fathers, she had 4 kids. One of the fathers, he signed over his rights. He still had to pay child support, bro. You had another father of another child that she had that was trying to take the child. They would not give that man custody of his child. This man was coming to the house and the family members were deterring him from coming. They called the cops on this man and everything. Look it up.
So listen, so say for example, a married couple, right? Because this is something that happened in Seattle, Washington. A married couple's together. The father takes the child and he go down. See, the problem is women beat us down to the office. If the father go down to that office and that father filed for legal custody and now he's the plaintiff and not the defendant, they're going to treat her the way into that case. So I'm just saying it's whoever get to the office first.
No, bro, that's not necessarily true. I get what you're saying. In some cases that can be right. But in a lot of these cases, that's not the issue, bro. That is not the issue. They would get that man held. All I got to do is tell you, I know a guy right now. He goes by the name of Black Man Unfiltered. He had to go through hell to prove that this woman was unfit to be a mother. He was still willing to give her custody, but it was only custody where it was at a point where you have to, you at least, I got to know what's going on with my kids. It took that man thousands of dollars to prove that. What we're only saying is that it's lopsided. The law is not in the favor of families. They're only in the favor of the woman. They're not even in the favor of the children.
But JT, we know this. We know this going in. It's 2023. Who doesn't know this by now? Even our son, 17, he knows this. So now we got to operate different. We know there's double standards. We understand. Now we got to operate different. You can't keep going and talking, well, I didn't know. That's bullshit, dog.
I agree with that.
Again, I'm telling every man on this panel and that's listening, please find out your family laws in your state, your respective state. Find them out. Get the information. Don't come talking. He ain't talking about, oh, I didn't know. That's your goddamn fault. 2020 informational time we in, you go on the internet, look all that up.
Yes, sir.
Find out the federal and your state laws. What is the family court laws as far as child support, child visitation, child custody? You can get a printout of the breakdown sheet. Every state has one, has their own. Find out that information and then go from there. Don't go in there. And another thing, don't go in there without a lawyer. You a damn fool. You go into a family court without a lawyer.
Yeah, I had. Yeah,
he has one appointed to her. You don't.
Yep.
You go in there naked head.
The state represents her for free, and you have to pay for your attorney. I went through it. So everybody hold your thoughts, because just because he talked about the laws, I have one more video and then we can go into straight discussion after that. Here we go.
There are massive federal programs that were instituted in the late 1970s that pay states trillions of dollars to tear families apart. So it's so innocuous when I tell you, be like, this is a great program. But like in Texas, we get 66 cents on the dollar put into the Texas Treasury for every dollar of child support that's paid, right? So the state is now highly incentivized to issue the maximum amount of child support. That's why almost all divorces got 50-50 prior to the 1980s. And there was this skyrocketing of divorces where one parent loses custody. And that was to maximize Title IV-D reimbursements to the states. In Texas, it's $500 million to the Texas budget.
If the state is profiting off of child support?
Correct. And in most states, the Judicial Retirement Fund is funded from this money. So the more child support that's issued from the family courts, the larger the judicial retirement. It's a massive program. It's the size of the largest defense programs. So the incentives are absolutely huge.
To get people to pay child support?
Correct.
Even married people, to get them to break up and then have to pay each other child support?
Absolutely, yeah. So because you would think the best child support would just be 50-50 custody and let people raise their kids. The best child support is to raise your own kid. That's the best.
So the point that I was making, go ahead. So the point that I was making earlier, the judge will look at you different if you are the first one down there to file child support. Now she got to prove why she deserved custody. She got to prove why she shouldn't. I think so many of these women are in the offense in these situations, and we need to put them in the defense because it changes everything.
So can I offer a perspective on that? So you're not wrong, E-Man. Like, you're not wrong, but in your position, you see it one way. To the man who has to pay child support and go to work 12 hours to do this and try to make it on time when court is there and still pay bills is not so simple. That's what I'm saying. So what we're talking about is how it should be. But for the average man who gets put on this, it's not just as simple as be the first to go to court, make it for every court day and still pay bills. There's a whole lot of time and money involved. So like I said, we've got to consider that as well. That's why I don't want us to just tell, I mean, you crazy if you don't do this. You could, if we believe that as men, let's create a pool of resources. So if a man has to take off work, he's got some support to take care of that business. Because otherwise we telling him you crazy for not doing what you got to do. And he's like, well, listen, I still got to pay child. What you gonna go to work for me? If we're really gonna help make this happen, I think we got to pool some resources together and work collectively to get men the rights that we're supposed to have.
And let me say this, let me add on to that, because I experienced it. I know JT did too, but I'm going to add on to that. He is absolutely 100% correct. And I thank God to this day, God, I thank you right now on live, that I had a job that worked with me to allow me to be off and to still earn, right? Because I was in sales at the time. And you got to be there in sales. And he said, listen, man, how about I give you a stipend and I'll pay you what you've averaged over the last few months. And then you just pay it back when you come back to work. Can we do it there? I said, yeah, man, whatever you got to do, just whatever. Right. I just got to get my babies. And so I went to go get my babies. You got to have a lawyer. That is correct. You got to have one or they're going to beat you to death in there. But the bad thing is when it came to me trying to prove that I was the better parent, they weren't trying to hear me. And I knew it. When I went, I said, damn, they're not trying to hear nothing I'm saying. Like the judge is like, oh, okay. Like everything was like, oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. I'm like, damn, what I got to do? So I'm like, okay. My lawyer said, hey, listen, we got to catch her being bad. We got to catch her being drunk. We got to, on the joint custody plan, it says she can't have alcohol in the house. Do you have any pictures of her in the house with the kids with alcohol on the counter? Do you have any pictures of her being drunk? Do you have any pictures of her with multiple people in the house? Do you have a picture of her with a man in the house that she's not married to? They said no man can be in her house sleeping overnight that she's not married to. Right? All those was in the stipulations of the joint custody plan. And I had to get dirty. I had to pay friends. I had to pay her friends. Hey, listen, I know that's your friend. Y'all can recover. I need you to go in there and take some pictures. You go $100. Oh, okay. Right? So click. I got a picture of my daughter like this, standing in front of a whole bunch of Jack Daniel vodka, all type. I had to go through it. I had to do it. And then one day, my ex thought she wanted to bond or something. I don't know what it was. And one of our boyfriend had beat up or something in the house, and she had a big old black eye. And she sent me a picture and said, look what he did to me. And I said, you know what? I got a picture. I had to get dirty. And it's a shame that I had to go and take pictures of this woman being unfit, paying people to spy on her to get my kids. It was bad.
Hey, can I add something to that black man?
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll get Mr. Hinkman is in the building tonight as well, and my boy Hink is in the building tonight, man. Thank you for being here tonight, my brother. I appreciate it. Go ahead, JC.
So this is what's crazy, because that was your ex-wife, right?
Yes, we were married.
So what's really messed up with men is that we have to. Sometimes we don't even know that we're in a war room with our, with the woman that we pretty much love, because I really believe somebody has said this. I don't know who it was. They said when men love, man, they love you. They put their cars on the table. They put all their money on the table. They cashing in when they love you. You know how messed up it is, bro, to have to be able to use the system against a woman that you love, because with our love comes protection. You know how messed up that has to be for us to not only take the covering from her, but also send the village towards her. It's not a really good feeling for us to do, but we have to be in survival mode in order to do it. And a lot of men are not in survival mode when it comes down to doing something. It takes us a minute to get that. She has to keep doing something to us. She got to keep poking the bear in order for us to say, you know what, gloves is off. I'm done with it now. I'm about to we have to be in a whole different type of place. I was there. It took me a long time to get there. I kept getting poked and stabbed and beat, all these different things. And I'm metaphorically speaking, until I got to the point where I said I got to fight back. Because in order for me to fight back, in order for me to be okay later on in life, I got to make sure that you doing the things that you're doing to me, it has to stop. And I'm about to make that stop by any means necessary. But it's still a painful thing.
And you know what the bad thing is? We went to the same church. I walk in the courtroom. Not only is the church paying all her legal fees,
the village. She got the village.
The church, the church is paying her legal fees. She walked in with the pastor, the first lady. She walked in with half the congregation with her. That was my fight. And at that moment I was giving up. And I said, I'm about to lose this. Because all of these people are going to be character witnesses for her. Oh, I'm about to lose. And then my lawyer, which is my cousin, shout out to Sister Tennant tonight. My cousin said, boy, I don't care how many she got. She said, you have to prove her wrong. And she said, we're going to do it. She said, matter of fact, let's drug test her today. Spontaneous drug test. She said, I ain't got no money for that. My cousin said, don't worry about it. I pay for it.
It's on the house.
Right. So she paid for it. And she failed the drug test. She come out crying. And then after that, I got the pictures. Your Honor, can we add this to evidence? Can we add this to evidence? Can we add this? And then all of a sudden, push forward 3 months. Custody of the children has been rewarded to the father. All you heard was all the church people, oh, we're so sorry, baby. She over there screaming how he took my kids from me. But on the elevator, you're in there with the messy mothers at the church saying, girl, I'm standing right in front of them. They behind me on the elevator. Ain't no way a court for to give no kids to no man. It ain't possible. And my cousin footed her. And then right after that, my cousin said, now I'm finna put on child support. I said, no, I don't need that money. We good. She said, boy, I don't give a damn what you say. I already filed it.
See, but when I hear these stories, and shout out to you guys making it through these hard times.
Absolutely.
We gotta be willing to fight. Like my daddy used to tell me this as a kid. He used to say, hey, the person who throw the first punch usually is the person who's gonna win, right? Like, so I know a lot of people think it's like we love these women and we supposed to still like it's almost like dishonor to play the system. We know the system. The first person to court is typically the person that have the easiest fight. It doesn't matter about gender. So I'm just saying men need to say, hey, I want custody of my child. I'm going down to that office first for my custody. And she need to prove why she need custody because I'm going to be the first one to make it.
But it takes a long time. But it takes a long time for a man to get there when he got with a woman. Like, I'm pretty sure Black man didn't get with that woman just because he wanted some ass every day.
No.
He wanted to build a family with her. It is very difficult, man, for us to get in war room you know, in the war room with a woman that we were protecting.
Yeah.
It's a hard, that's where it gets very hard. It took me a long time for me to even figure why I wasn't fighting. Because, man, at the beginning, when I was going through the divorce and all that, I wasn't fighting, dog. I was like, and, you know, people was like, why you not fighting back? Because I didn't want to do any harm to her. She was lying on me and all these different things, but I couldn't muster up the same energy she had towards me. I didn't have that same energy towards her.
Exactly, bro. As I was at first. That's how I was at first.
Yeah, so my energy came from cussing her out and, you know, doing all those things. But when it came down to that court, man, it was so hard for me to really just put her out there and air her out. I had every opportunity to do it, and I never did.
And see, that's what a lot of women prey on. They prey on what we're not supposed to be doing. Like, for instance, when they're abusive, like physically abusive, they're preying on the fact that they're going on, well, a man ain't supposed to hit a woman. Well, first of all, a man can defend himself. It's the same principle. It takes a lot for a man to get to the point to where he's in love with the woman. You understand? Once he's in love with the woman and that woman bears a child, that man ain't thinking of, oh, well, it can be somebody else's child unless that woman has had behavior that led him to believe that. But when he gets there, he gets there. And it's to the point to where once we love that woman, like you said, we're in protect mode. We're in provide mode. We're grinding. We're doing everything we got to do to protect the family unit, to protect that child, to protect all of this stuff. But who's protecting us?
Nobody.
And that's what a lot of women they fail to realize, is that we're in this on our own. It's collectives like this group and other groups like us, to where we have a support group. We have people, we have outlets where we can literally talk about these things. Because a lot of the times when we try to talk about what we need and what we want and what we feel, it's dismissed, it's deflected, and then another narrative is pushed. When it comes to these kids and these child support and these women are lying and stuff like that, like you said, we got to put that battle armor on. We got to shake ourselves and do whatever prayer we got to pray, and we got to go to war. Like my man said, like, listen, you got to get to that court. You got to file those papers. You got to do everything. Why? Because not only do you have to get a DNA test first, get that done. But if it's too late, and that's what you got to do, and you got to do it after the fact, still do it. A lot of the problems lie when we start feeling things for the children, and the child is 6 or 7 or 8 years old, and down the line, that child's older. We can't just walk away from that child. Now we're sitting there like, no, that child is mine. How fair is it to us to have been lied to all those freaking years? We have to understand, the more we fight, it's for the betterment of those children. If that child stays in a situation where it's dysfunctional in that house with that mother, guess what? That child is going to be affected for life. That child is going to be affected for life. So we have to put in that fight. We have to do what we got to do. And like you said, we have to create the resources. We have to pool those resources. We have to do everything possible so that when a man comes and say, hey, I just don't have it. I just don't know who to talk to. I don't know where to go. We need to have that directory for them. We need to have that fund for them. We have to have something, because who's going to stand up for us? Nobody, because we always expected to take it on our chin.
Right. And the title, E-Man, before you go, I'm give you something real quick, E-Man, before you go. The reason I titled child support is unconstitutional, because in the state of California, the California State Supreme Court ruled, I'm reading here, child support is unconstitutional. It infringes on the rights of men and families. The 14th Amendment's due process clause has substantially agreed that the California Assembly Bill 1058 AB 1058 Family Code section whatever is known as Title I, and in tribunals that child support is unconstitutional, and it will go back to the Supreme Court to make steps to rid itself from it. This is the state of California. Now, if that happens in California, it's going to be a wildfire around the world, around the United States.
What I don't want to do is I don't want to stop holding men accountable for putting their seed out there. I don't want to be. I want to be like, oh, let's get rid of child support. And we say men can go out there and whatever. Like I think we still got to have because we can't.
But I don't think it should be system.
That's not holding them accountable though, man. That's completely two different.
Yeah, they're making trillions of dollars off of men a year.
So let me tell you what I mean by what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is this right here. When we say that we got to hold women accountable. So hold on, let me see where y'all at. Do y'all believe child support is a way of holding somebody accountable for producing a child? No. So y'all don't think that it's no accountability in that?
No, it's a form of accountability.
I would say yes. If you one word, I would say yes. It is. It's not perfect, but I would say yes. It is.
But there's no responsibility in that. It has did nothing for families. Go ahead. He said.
I would say I heard the video he played before we started having this conversation. What say you to that?
You said the video before this conversation?
Yeah, when he said it was all monetized and all strategized. And
hold on, just so we'll watch it again, Mr. Easy. Here it is.
There are massive federal programs that were instituted in the late 1970s that pay states trillions of dollars to tear families apart. So it's so innocuous when I tell you, be like, this is a great program. But like in Texas, we get 66 cents on the dollar put into the Texas Treasury for every dollar of child support that's paid, right? So the state is now highly incentivized to issue the maximum amount of child support. That's why almost all divorces got 50-50 prior to the 1980s. And there was this skyrocketing of divorces where one parent loses custody. And that was to maximize Title IV-D reimbursements to the states. In Texas, it's $500 million to the Texas budget.
If the state is profiting off of child support?
Correct. And in most states, the Judicial Retirement Fund is funded from this money. So the more child support that's issued from the family courts, the larger the judicial retirement. It's a massive program. It's the size of the largest defense programs. So the incentives are absolutely huge.
To get people to pay child support?
Correct.
Even married people, to get them to break up and then have to pay each other child support?
Absolutely, yeah. So because you would think the best child support would just be 50-50 custody and let people raise their kids. The best child support is to raise your own kid. That's the best.
So it's two different sides to child support. So they don't get every dollar that comes from child support, right?
He said 66% of every dollar.
It's two different sides of child support. So it's a portion that child support just says, hey, you owe her this, and he paid that woman directly, right? The state don't get none of that. When the child support system have to get involved and you must pay the state, it's something totally different. So it is two. Go ahead, JT.
No, he's right.
I was going to say, what I'm saying is, this is the thing. It's a state by state thing. That what he said was it was true in one state, but it's not true in another state. Michigan is not there. It is 66.
You could come. Me and my ex-wife could come up with an agreement, and we can both sign it and get somebody to get it notarized,
right,
and present it to a judge, and we could do it that way without involving the state at all. So,
I get that. I get what he's saying. I'm saying it's true.
That's not what's driving the issue.
But what I'm saying is, it's true.
But that's what E-Man's talking about when he says two different child support. So I understand. We're talking about the one where they take a check, they take a percentage, plus they collect money off the interest, and then
My Child in Michigan. It's called My Child in Michigan, right? So the thing is that service charge, the service charge is like $2.66 every time they collect, right? Then they have a processing fee. Then they have all these different things. It come up to about per case. It come up to about $6-7 per case every month. And what happens is that now this is how the state really catches up. And like I said, I'm only speaking from Michigan and a couple of other states, right? A lot of other states. But 2001, they did a sting. And what they did was they went to people's house and they arrested all the men that owed child support. maybe some women, but it was mostly men, right? The bounty hunters that day, for at least for 2 weeks, they were getting whatever the courts can get out of the men that was in that court. The bounty was paid to what they call it, the bond bailsmen or whatever. Them cats that go out there and do that, and they pay these doggone cops, these plainclothes cops, to go out there and start doing these things. They were getting paid thousands of dollars, bro, per month, because they were doing this thing. If you look it up, I know in Michigan, I know there's a couple of other places that they were doing it. I just know in Michigan, 2001, they started this thing, and they made this thing a felony. They call it a felony of non-payment of child support. The only way that they can actually do that was because they can hold you in contempt of court. If you've ever written or signed something that said, I will pay, I am the father, all these different things, all these different ways on how they could do it, that's how they got your ass. If you never signed anything, then they couldn't get you. They couldn't arrest you. Now, the thing was, it didn't only just get to that, it got to your credit report. Right now, you got cats right now that are dealing with this shit. They got rearages and all these different things, and it's on their credit report. It affects their credit score. It's called a GIFA or something like that. I can't remember the acronym for it. But what I'm saying, and then the only reason why I'm saying this, bro, is because they're holding men accountable because we're the source.
So,
we
but-
put this
I'm jumping in now. No, I'm being rude.
Go ahead,
I've been
Mr.
speaking
T-Said.
for like a half an hour. I'm sorry. I
Oh, my
apologize.
bad, Mr. T-Said. I apologize, Mr.
Here's the
T-Said.
thing.
I
Here's the
apologize.
thing. No, you don't have to. Here's the thing. Possession is 9/10 of the law, fellas. And that's what we're kind of alluding from. And I was just talking about this yesterday. They possess the child. So when I hear y'all talk about all of this, you got to fight and all of that, I hear y'all, but I'm on the completely other side of that. And maybe I grew up in the perfect time of the perfect storm. But here's what I told my baby mother. You want to charge me monetarily for that boy? That's what you're going to get. You're going to get those finances. You are not going to get me. And I told him, your mother's crazy. And you are getting a year older every year. And I'll talk to you on the phone more and more, and you'll articulate better and better. And by the time you get 18, I won't even need to talk to her. And every year I'm talking to her less. So sometimes you got to just not be simple, fellas. You got to take your power into your own hands. And I know maybe in 2023 you can't do this because the court is so involved because of that clip he played.
Right.
Now, again, coincidentally, you got the judges getting paid off of the child support, the black boys they put in jail, and all of the men that's in jail. So it just sounds like they boat is big as hell. And you like boats and money, so you really don't hear nothing wrong with that. And that's not me. I'm on the other side of that. I like money too, but at the same time, I see the world of how it works. And like I said, possession is 9/10 of the law. Think about Juice, fellas. Think about when he said, why do he get to hold on to the gun? What did Tupac say? He said, because I already got it, motherfucker.
Right.
If you want to try to take a gun away from somebody that has it and they don't want you to take it, that's a very dangerous and hard task. Think of a child like a gun. They possess the power. And
The
if they
rabbit got the
relinquish
gun.
that power to you, they no longer have the power. They no longer have the say-so. They no longer have the control. They no longer have the je ne sais quoi. So you don't get that. And under all means, like you said, I could have the better finances, I could have the better life, I could have the better situation. The judge still ain't giving the baby to me. Why? Because of that clip he just played.
Yep,
You add all of that together, and that's the perfect storm, gentlemen. Possession is 9/10 of the law. So as long as they possess those children, they are going to be able to have the say-so. And that's why I stand on my box of superiority. Women don't want to be equal to us. They want to be superior to us. They want to have the say-so in relationships, in divorce, in the children, and so on and so forth. I could go on for probably about an hour. So here's what I'm going to say. Don't be simple, fellas. Be more than simple. Be more sophisticated. We are expressing feelings, emotions, all types of complicated things in these boxes, but yet men ascribe to this I'm simple narrative. But not Mr. He said, I'm not simple. You're not going to do the everyday, normal fly-by-night to get by with me. Not my children, not my lifestyle, or none of the above. So I think we need to ascribe to be a little more sophisticated and complex, and maybe they'll see that we can lead our families and take care of our kids, and maybe both things at the same time. Thank you.
Well, let me say this real fast, Matt. Again, men, you have to educate yourself. If you
information man, right after he
don't want
information
to,
man.
then you might as well just grab ankles and take it up your ass, because that's what you're about to do. They about to fuck you. Get ready, no Vaseline. So if that's what you want, good luck with that shit. Accept it and move on. But for the men who's going to do what they need to do, we understand the system is against us. What are we going to do about it? Now, you could go fight back, and fight back not only in the courtrooms. You need to talk to your alderman. You need to talk to your mayor. You need to find out who your governor, your state representative is. Have that conversation. Do what you have to do. I don't care if you're not even paying child support anymore. You got to be part of the call-in. We're going to have to get women on our side, because it's going to take more than just a bunch of hard ankles. Because guess what? A bunch of hard ankles ain't going to do it. Most of the time, we don't even want to mount up for on certain things we should be mounting up for. It's going to take us, every man that has to deal with it, or the men who don't have to deal with it, who could possibly deal with it, come together. We have to. You got to get some women on your side. I know some of you guys probably can't stand your baby mama, but if you can have a conversation with her, maybe try to talk to her and come to some type of understanding deal, maybe, just maybe, you can avoid a lot of this bullshit. Or you have to bend the knee and talk softly to her, maybe so. If that's going to keep you out of this system, I'll do what I have to do. I'll have that conversation in a public place where we can have witnesses saying, no, you put your hands on me. He was harassed me. He was laughing. No, we're not doing none of it. We're going to have a conversation. And guess what? Get your lawyers involved if need be. Let's come to an understanding. And let's talk about it. For those guys who talk about they can't afford it, hopefully you get vacation time. Hopefully you get personal time. If you got to go to court, use your vacation. Don't take off vacation because I want to go to Orlando to see goddamn Mickey Mouse. Fuck that mouse. Use your time for when you got to go to court and fight. No excuses. I don't believe in excuses. I don't accept them make excuses. I got a second job. I'm at Home Depot restocking shelves to pay child support and to pay off court fees. That's what I had to do. Did I miss days of pay? Yeah. Some of those days I got paid. Some of those days I got unpaid. I had to sacrifice.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what you have to do. But you got to look at the big picture. You got to look at the big picture. I got my offspring I got to worry about. I don't trust that woman to raise my son right. I need to do what I got to do to get ahead. And like E-Man said, get there first. Stop playing last. We're not friends. She's not your friend anymore. If she try to put you on child support, she's not your friend.
She's the enemy.
She's your enemy. Treat her as such. She's a hostile person. Treat her as such. She gonna smile in your face, turn you back, and wink her eye. Maybe think you're gonna get a little nookie. But all the while, she's pulling your ass in again.
Yep.
While she's stabbing you in your damn back. Move accordingly.
She ain't, hey, listen, words to live by. She ain't your friend. She your enemy. It's from Information Man. Did you get a chance to see the videos and listen to the conversation, man? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I listened to some of the conversation. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you, brother.
Hey, I hope everybody's doing fine tonight. Yeah, I listened to some of the conversation. Very good conversation tonight. Very much. A lot of brothers are on point tonight. But I got to drop some reality here. It's about truth. And the truth of the matter is, we as black men, or as men in general, we spend too much time playing defense, playing checkers, instead of playing chess. That's our problem. See, we can sit up here and talk about what women have the right to do and what they benefit from. They simply benefit because women know that they are in a weaker position by way of the fact that they are not in control of society. So what do? They take advantage of the political system. They will rally together. They will talk to each other. They will share ideas, and they will rally to make their issues number one. Men are the ones that are dying of cancer, yet we celebrate breast cancer and trying to help women with breast cancer, even though we're the ones that are dying. Why? They're active and we're not active. That's why we die silently. And the issue of divorce and all of that, you have to remember this. America is a corporation. So anything that you sign, you're coming into contract. Unless you're a secured creditor, you're an independent creditor, you're coming into contract. That's why when the police stop you, they say, "Can I see your ID?" They want you to come into contract with them. And once you sign a marriage certificate, your relationship is a part of the state of the union. So you're already signed up for them to screw you without Vaseline, screw you with Vaseline. So I would say as a strategy, one, for black men specifically, we have to figure out a way as we groom the next generation of young black men. We just can't be making baby mamas. You just can't be pregnating the girl at the club or the girl or the woman that's got all the tattoos all over her body because she got a big booty. We just can't afford it. Literally, we can't afford it. Another thing, because I went through this myself personally, I was married for 15 years. Unfortunately, went through a divorce. Fortunately for me, I met my wife in college, and she was a woman that we had conversations already if we were to break up, how we wanted to handle things. We saw friends who had really bad breakup. So I was able to, I had picked a woman that even though the relationship didn't go past the 15 years, we could still talk. So I struck while the iron was hot, gentlemen. I got 50-50 custody. Now, when you have 50-50 custody, you really don't have much smoke coming towards you, because if that woman leaves the state, you got say-so. I got say-so in everything that happens with my child. Everything. Okay, if I don't like something, I got 50-50 custody. Now, not every black man, not every man is getting 50-50 custody, because I know that the system is rigged against us. I was listening to What We Know podcast. He made some really good points, but I know you were talking about Michigan, brother. Michigan, I get it. Michigan's got some screwed up laws, but we need to educate ourselves on all the states in this union based on what states have the most advantage for us in terms of child support, as far as family court. Some states are a little bit better than other states. So know the laws of your state, because if you know what the laws are, you might think first about whether you want to impregnate old girl, right? Especially if you got some red flags about her, you might want to consider that. So it's going to always be stacked in favor of women as long as we as men sit by and complain about it, but we do nothing. Black Man Unfiltered, do you remember what was it, last year when I was on your channel? And I think little podcast was on. There was other brothers that were on. Yeah. And I sat up here and said, we need to come together as men in a coalition to put pressure on these politicians. And I know that people were saying, well, I don't want to be in a position to have to come at my woman like that. Bullshit. The women don't have no. The women have no
Brother
problem.
Clarence was on there.
Yeah.
And there was brother. Hold on. Shout out to Brother Clarence, because this is what he actually. Listen, here it is.
Get out of here! Just get out of here! And F you, just get out of here!
Wow.
But the women, obviously, women have no problems with utilizing the court system against us. They're not sitting back saying, oh, I don't want to do this to my black man. They do it regardless, because they want the upper hand in being able to get the child support and being able to have possession of the child. Oh, so the only thing we can do is we have to lobby, come together in coalition across race, and lobby the politicians to change the laws. There's no reason that women should have more parental rights over a child that they didn't create by themselves. They could not create the child without your seed. Without your seed, women have nothing. The womb can't create anything without the seed. So therefore, we have to get out there and make these arguments. We have to talk about this in the barbershops, at the gym, wherever we hang out as men, and create coalitions. Now, do I think that's going to happen overnight? No, I just don't think it is. Some guys are complacent in their to be in this bullshit, and I think that's a sad commentary. But I said that on your show months ago. And of course, people were kind of saying, "Oh, info, we don't want to fight against our women." Well, if you don't want to fight against your women, then what are you complaining about?
What are you gonna
They're
do?
certainly
Yep.
they're certainly willing to fight against you
Let's
at
go.
any means. So we have to do that on that level, and we have to also, for those of us who have sons, we have to educate our sons.
Exactly.
And we need to this is what black men need to do who are in the lives of their sons. You need to preach a sermon like a preacher that there will be no booty, there will be no girls at the club in this household. You have to be just as tough on them as you are with your daughters. You must do what you can to help your son avoid the baby mamas out there and tell him what the consequences are. Not only tell him, but show him an example.
Exactly.
Bring somebody around him who can tell him, this is what happened to me. Let me tell you my story. Let me tell you my story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my position on this. Women are seen as the weaker sex, so obviously they get the advantage because of that. We're seen as men, and men are supposed to be providers. And so therefore, when the woman is no longer in your life, the courts look to give her favor because you're supposed to be the provider, right? So it's an unfortunate situation, gentlemen, that we find ourselves in. But I can say for myself personally, I didn't impregnate a lot of women growing up. I had one wife and I had a child by one woman. I was always conscious that I did not want to impregnate women that I knew that I would not want to have a child with. And I know I'm not saying that everybody's got to be a monk here, but I'm sorry, brothers, we gotta have to figure out ways to have more control of our urges as men and the type of women that we choose to lay down with, because there's a lot of consequences that come with laying down with these women today. It's scary. So prepare your sons.
And you know
So
what?
can I highlight one thing he said? Just one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like he said something that I hope didn't go over y'all face. He said we had the conversations when we was on good times. See, I think we wait into bad times to have these conversations. When we're at each other's throat, then we want to talk about the custodies of the kids. I think this is part of the courting process. Hey, if we did get together and we had kids, how will we separate that? Are you someone that feels 50-50? And I'm not saying that they're gonna hold on to that word, but if a woman said, no, I'm gonna want 100% custody, that's a red flag. Get away from them. They not a type of person who got your best interest. I think that if we have these conversations on good time, when we get in bad times, or if we do separate, it will give us a chance to be able to be more civil with this separation.
Do you believe a state can be a simp? Let me tell you a state that's a simp. The state that I'm in. And I'm in Texas. Texas is the biggest simp in the 50 states. Let me tell you why. In Texas, I can sit down with my wife and say, baby, we're going to do 50-50. She says, absolutely, baby, we could do that. Okay. I'm single. She's single. She moves on. I'm happy for her. I'm at her wedding. She sees me move on. She gets pissed off. It's been 6 years since we had the agreement. She can say, I don't want to do 50-50 no more. State, come here. Yes. How can we help you? I want child support. Guess what Texas does? Okay. How old is the child?
Put cheese on it too.
How old is the child? Let's say the child's 15. Child's 15. Oh, okay. You're going to get a letter in the mail. You have to come to court. When you get to court, the judge's going to say, you're 15 years in arrears. When do you want to make your first payment? They're going to retro back 15 years.
So black men are
15 years. If she get pissed off, you getting 15 years of back pay.
I want to go as far as saying we should take this so serious that if we in a state that don't favor us, we should leave. We should pack up our stuff. We should pack up our stuff, and we say, if this state don't change, you will not get my taxable dollars.
Or you fight it.
But the guy just said every state,
or you leave. You are absolutely. But let me ask this question then, because what I'm getting from a lot of brothers is that what we are talking about right now. Hey man, listen, y'all got to start saying no to the punani, bro. They'll look at us like we crazy. Every man on here to say you gotta start practicing restraint. what you hear from the average dude is, man, that ain't nobody gonna do that.
Right. And
they're not looking at it as an alternative.
Right.
They're looking at it as, we just talking shit. Like, no, if you know you're going to get your ass handed to you because of what, or you can possibly get your ass handed to you in court, and we see how bad these states are and what's happening in the United States, why is it that we as men can't say, you know what, let us start to encourage each other to, you know what I'm saying, have restraint on what we're doing. You don't hear not one man saying that. Because what we'll do is we'll go back to nature, right? It's in the nature of a man, you know, and they go to lions and tigers and bears and start talking about that shit.
Now let's
these are modern times. We gonna get fucked up if we don't start holding restraint.
Let's keep in mind this too, because I'm getting a lot of flack. I got a lot of flack for talking to my son about dick discipline on video. All right, they gave me pushback. I didn't care. I did something else on my son the other day. We had a conversation. And then I brought the subject, not my son, but the subject of what we were talking about to the panel. And I told him this because we were at the end in about 7-8 minutes. So we're going to get everybody in here to say they get 30 seconds to say what they're going to say so we'll be out. But I told my son, you have to have women have standards. Women say, I don't want no fat man, no chubby man. I don't want no short man. I don't want this kind of man. He can't have 9 fingers. They have all these standards. I told my son, you must also have standards, and you must also be a man about your standards, and you stand on your square and be disciplined in your standards. And he said, well, Daddy, what standards should I have? I said, I'm glad you asked. Your standards should be this. And I said, my son was born in 2007. I said, those mamas that had those children, those are the women right now that are dealing with a lot, right? Some of them horrible, some of them not, some of them struggling. But I told my son, your standard you should have for yourself is you want a legacy. You want to be able to have sons and have a family of your own. So we're not going to date any single mothers. We should be helping the single mothers. We could uplift the single mothers and say, hey, how y'all doing? Your son need a mentor? Cool. But you're not dating no single mothers. You're not going to date a woman who come from a single household and her mom, and you met her mom, because guess what happens? I told my son, you got to go meet her mama, because 99% of the time, that girl gonna be a reflection of her mother. The third thing is, if she got a bad mouth and she cuss you out in front of your mama, your daddy, and the Target cashier, you hear it one time, you should be done with her.
Even at the restaurant.
Right. Also, you have dick discipline where you ain't going over no girl house, and you in the daytime when you day walking, you saying, I don't want no fat girl, I don't want no girl, no bald head girl. But at midnight when your pecker get hard, you walking across the street, da-dum, 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 going over there and getting her pregnant and adding her to the system and adding yourself to the system. When you pull your penis out, make sure it's a penis that you're going to have for your wife. Because the time that we're living, he said, Daddy, he said, did you wait, Daddy? I said, no, sir, I was a whore. But you're not going to, but I want you the best for you, because my daddy didn't have this conversation with me. I didn't wait, and I have some stories to tell you. I need you to I need you to be understanding what I'm saying. And my son said, okay, Daddy. And so my daughter came in the other day. She's 14. My son's 15. She came in. She said, Daddy, what you tell Jabari? I said, nothing. Why? He was at school today, and the girl was trying to talk to him. And he asked her, did she have a dad and a mom in the house?
Hey, yo. That's right.
Exactly. Right? Go ahead.
That's true. I just wanted to say this. Do you remember, I think most of the brothers on the panel may remember this, and this would have been a good example tonight of what you're talking about. Remember,
Absolutely.
there was some sister on Instagram who put out a post, and she was kind of whining and crying about how certain type of men in college who are going somewhere in life weren't giving her attention because they didn't like all the tramp stamps that she had on her body, right?
Right, exactly.
And she was saying, and so what's happened is you have some sisters who are out there partying and splitting it wide open, and they're living a life, and they're getting all these old weird piercings, and now you got all these women getting these old piercings like they a billy goat in their noses. and she was on Instagram, and it made a big splash on social media,
right?
Kind of crying about how she couldn't get the men that she coveted because those guys weren't looking for that. I'm just saying this to say it is effective, gentlemen.
Yep.
It is effective. We hold the keys to all of that. We
Yep.
do. If we can stop simping
Booger
and we can
wolves.
just raise our standards, it's going to cause some women to say, I just can't behave and act like this anymore. I'm not getting any men.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why they continue to do what they can do and women that do that is because there's a simp around the corner, down the block, down the street.
Get out of here! Just
ready at any time to creep late night.
Right. All right, so guys, we're gonna do final thoughts. I gotta pick my daughter up from work, guys. So I'm gonna give everybody 30 seconds. We'll do 30 seconds, no longer than that, because I gotta go pick my baby up. But we'll go with Information Man first. Information Man.
I think I said it with the statements that I made tonight.
Okay.
I think we as men we have to be men of action, and we have to take drastic measures, not only to lobby our politicians, but we have to have some dingling control.
Yep.
And we're going to have to educate our young black males, as you just did with your son, that you're just not going to bring any scallywag in the house.
Right.
So just like we put a lot of emphasis on our daughters, gentlemen, we need to put the same emphasis on our sons. We need to know who are they dating, what type of female she is, we need to know it all. We need to be Inspector and Gadget. I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Information Man. Make sure y'all go and subscribe to Information Man. All right. Let me move myself out of the way. JT, 25 seconds.
Information Man says splitting it wide open.
Splitting it wide open.
And Billy Goat
That's
Gruff.
the new word. That's the new.
Billy
I know he was 100 on that though, man. Yeah, man. We got to be a lot more vigilant, man, on what it is that we getting ourselves involved in. On my channel, man, I'm definitely about to start talking about going a little more strategic on when it comes down to dating to marriage, how to get from dating to marriage. You know, our people are missing it, bro. Our kids are missing it. They're not understanding purpose. They're not understanding a lot of different things when it comes down to this. When we talking about this, the subject, man, when creating a child should be something that is joyous, because it's like the gift that keeps on giving. You know what I'm saying? So, like I a while ago, I did a video, and I said that I had my children for my grandchildren. I wanted that to be a better father for my kids, so their kids can have a great parent. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be that type of a dad, so I can have my kids to be a great mother, and the man that they meet can be a great father, and then they can be great grandparents also. I mean, like literally great grandparents. So you got to find purpose when it comes down to a lot of this stuff. And a lot of people don't find purpose. A lot of this stuff is, dick pussy. And then you're on child support.
Wait a minute.
So
all right.
It's a lot of things. I'm glad that we all talked, and we was literally on the same page with each other when it came down to it. E-Man, this is the first time I could say I didn't really disagree with you. And I don't think I disagree with a whole lot of things, man. It's more of tactic than anything else when it comes down to with you. But one of the things that I could tell you, bro, we gotta display discipline, and we're gonna have to show it and showcase it to the next generation also, man. You can find me on What We Know podcast. You can also find me on Let Me Expound. You're not gonna find me, but you will find my content on there. It's about famous people, billion-dollar companies, and things like that. It's more of an information place that I'm in when I have informational content. And that's it, man. I'm out.
All right. Appreciate you, bro. JT from What We Know Podcast. Mr. Bennett, 13 seconds.
Well, it's interesting. My perception actually changed tonight through this conversation, so I thank you for having it. Because the more I was researching and I actually put some things in the chat, the more I'm convinced that this has to be a personal initiative. Because if you're going to take state and federal action, one, you got to win the women over to your side to get the votes in order to get it over, and then second, states aren't willing to give up that money. Now, again, if you know anything about how these things work, you know about that establishment of paternity. There's federal funding that's tied to that, and states are mandated to establish paternity for every child. So if they don't meet those thresholds, they lose money. In the state of case of Memphis, Tennessee, they were trying to get a bill done for mandatory testing, and they're talking about possibly losing $50 million if this goes down. So you're going to have that battle also. So I am an advocate for voting and for advocacy, but the best advocacy might be for, again, supporting brothers locally, brothers taking more action and agency, having that conversation with your baby's mother to work things out, to keep yourself out of the court system. Those might be your best bets in the near term. I may change my opinion later if should the Supreme Court decide that a child support is not a right. Then we may come back to this conversation. You may see a domino that comes from that. But until then, like Brother Hink says, protect yourself at all times. That might be your best strategy right now. But I just came to this just through this conversation tonight, just some of the links that I share in the chat, and just things that are going tonight. So I think I did a 180 tonight. So.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Mr. Bennett, always, brother. All right, E-Man, 8.5 seconds. You muted.
All right, I'm gonna start my time over. I'm gonna be exactly 30 seconds, right?
Okay.
Check this out. Men, stop looking to play defense and catch an interception in court. It's time for you to get on offense. Guess what? Offense put points on the board. Everybody keeps saying, I don't want, man, F that B. Forget her. She left you. She filed for divorce. Go take your kids.
Thank you, man. Oh my God. Come on, my brother. Oh, Dietrich, thank you for being here tonight, man. What are your final thoughts, my brother?
Man, I appreciate it, man. When we lose our excuses, we then start to find our results, man. I think as men, we have to be more intentional about what our purpose is, and we have to have these conversations with our young men as well, because it starts with us. Let's just be honest. It starts with us, because if we're more responsible, then the results will be what we want them to be, and everything. So we just got to be the catalyst for what it is that we want to see. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop making excuses. We got to stop all of the putting pussy in front of common sense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that pussy will make you pay for life, literally, if you're not being smart. So I just really think that I really want to thank you for having me on. I don't want this to be the last time.
It won't be, brother.
And I appreciate you and everything, guys. Check me out at Mr. Craves Cookies on Instagram. TheMrCravesCookies.com. I got my ebook coming out, The Secret Phases of Manhood, that's going to help women recognize the phases of manhood so they don't keep getting it wrong, because there are different behaviors that happen in each phase of those manhood. And a lot of the times when you pick the wrong man, you will be picking the wrong result as well. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you so much, brother. And I'll be reaching out to you for more shows, my brother.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you, man, for being here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Man, last but not least, man, my brother, Mr. He said it.
My brother.
Man,
Thank you for
so
having
much
me,
for
man.
being here, man. Thank you for
Always
your
a
intellect. Thank you for your perspective, brother. Always, man, enjoy you, brother. What are your final thoughts, man?
Always a pleasure. Final thought, simple, man. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, cross in the green, not in between. Fellas, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Subscribe to this channel because they are doing amazing work. Thank you for having me, brother. Always a pleasure, man.
Always, man. Tell Miss we said, what's up?
You know it.
All right, brother. Have a good night, my brother. All right, guys. So that has been our show. I appreciate everybody for coming by. I appreciate everybody who gave tonight in the super chats. You guys were amazing. And thank everybody for coming in. Information Man, Dietrich, E-Man, Mr. Bennett, my boy Sir Hill, JT, Hink. I mean, we had an all-star cast tonight. So thank you guys so much. And this won't be the last time that men sit around. We do this every Friday. We're going to sit around the round table and we're going to have these conversations. And it's come to a time where back in the day, I'm going to say this and I'm out. Back in the day, men used to encourage men to get vagina. Now we're in a time that is so detrimental to our boys that we must teach them to be anti-vagina until they're married. Until they are married, right? And I know a lot of people get mad at me, but I tell my son, you can't date a single mother. It's too many layers there, and you're too young to deal with that. You can't date because mothers are getting younger and younger. You can't date a girl that came from a one-parent home because there's too many layers to deal with that situation. She has a bad mouth. You can't deal with that. You gotta move on, right? You can't be out here being sexually active with women you're not attracted to because you're adding to the statistic because you don't want to be with that woman and she's going to add herself to the 70% of women who are single moms in our community. Guys, we have to be safe. And as our Uncle Hink always says, protect yourself at all times. Now, I'm going to end it always like I always do, guys. Do something nice for someone else. If you're standing in line tomorrow at the grocery store, pay for someone's grocery. If you're at Starbucks, pay for the person behind you. And if you're at home and you're chilling, do something nice for yourself because the best help is self-help. All right? I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Have a good evening. Peace. Hey, I hope y'all like that intro because I'm playing it on the way out. Bye.